Hi, it's Caitlin, and I'm here with a huge new collection from a brand that is also new to my channel. Today I'm swatching the Paint the Town Red collection, which is from Phoenix Indie Polish. They've collaborated with Ab on Instagram. Ab, you've probably seen their swatches, they're incredible. Their Instagram handle is at a little bit dramatic. I'll link that down in the description. And this is a massive collection. There are 22 polishes and every single one is perfect. I have no notes. This is like a 10 out of 10 collection. It's huge. And that's kind of difficult because you probably want them all. I don't know if you can buy them all, but if you can, I highly recommend it. They're all amazing nail polishes. They're all inspired by vampires from pop culture, which is really cool. I know nothing about vampires, so I will be absolutely clueless with the names of these polishes, but if you can help me out, please do. This collection is available from a whole bunch of nail polish stockist websites. I will include them down in the description below. The collection is not limited edition, so it is available in an ongoing way, mostly through pre-order on these different stockist websites. I don't know, there's so many nail polishes, so I should stop talking and just get into the collection. Buckle in, we're starting off with Edward, which is definitely a vampire, I know. And this polish is so gorgeous. Hopefully you can already quickly see how beautiful it is. So this one is a beautiful linear hollow base, and it also has red iridescent sparkles and silver galaxy glitters. My brain. So this one has a fantastic formula. I really liked the coverage in 2 coats, and I was just so impressed with how holographic and sparkly this one is. It's definitely a very high quality holographic pigment that was used, and those iridescent flakes just add something special, an additional sparkle for Edward. And this is definitely the skin of a killer, and it's beautiful when you apply top coat. Let the top coat dry down because that's how you get the strongest linear holographic effect. And you can see here outside in the sun, it's just rainbows for days. It's absolutely stunning. I am obsessed with this polish. It works really well on my skin tone, and I mean, who doesn't love linear hollow? So you can kind of get a hint of this like pinky red shimmer in it, which I think is really beautiful. And here, even like out of the fully direct sun, I think it still looks absolutely gorgeous. I really couldn't stop filming this one because I just think it's so pretty, even in the shade. And here under my swatching lights, you can really see those iridescent and galaxy glitters a little bit better. But honestly, I love this polish so much. You're going to hear me say that a lot. And obviously next I had to show Bella. So Bella is described as a soft lavender base with aqua to purple aurora shimmer. And this also has a fantastic formula. It applies really easily. I really like the brush that Phoenix uses. It makes it really easy to apply polish. And while this is sheer, it actually builds up very quickly and easily. So it looks beautiful if you wanted to leave it in 2 coats. I think it has enough coverage that the shimmer is sparkly and covers up the nail line, but of course 3 coats is good too, so I'm going to show 3. That definitely intensifies the base color. It goes from more of a pink to a definite lavender purple, and of course you get more of that beautiful aqua shimmer. It dries down quite shiny, but I will still recommend top coat, of course. And in this video, I'm using the Cuticula Limitless Quick Dry Top Coat, which is my favorite. And here you can see just how strong that blue shimmer is. It was probably already obvious, and you get an additional sort of purple shift at extreme angles. I will try to control myself, but honestly, every single polish in this collection is a winner. From the formula to the overall look, it's absolutely stunning. The next polish we have is Caroline, and now I don't know who these vampires are anymore. So this one is a pink linear hollow with blue shimmer, and this one is beautifully formulated. As you can see on that first coat, it is practically opaque and just such a pretty shade of pink. It's very bright but also very soft. However, I will say that I didn't see a ton of that blue shimmer, so maybe you can detect it better than I can, but it just didn't stand out to me. However, I absolutely love this polish overall. I like how the hollow is kind of creamy, if that makes sense, and yet still very linear and rainbowy, as you will see shortly. This one does dry down a bit dull, so use glossy top coat to enhance the holographic effect. Definitely let it dry down after you apply the top coat. And here, once the top coat dries down, you can see how rainbowy this one is. It is such a pretty pink. I can't stress that enough. I don't know if I got this one in the sun. We'll see in a second, but oh yeah, the sun was out. You can see how pretty the hollow is. Moving along, we have Alice, and Alice is a canary yellow jelly base with red to green micro flakies, which is so cool. I love this polish. So this one is obviously sheer on that first coat, but it goes down and applies very evenly, very easily. It dries quickly in between coats, and these flakes are so tiny and pretty. I am in love with them, and I love the brightness of this yellow base. It's definitely a canary yellow. It's like Tweety Bird on steroids, and I just love the shifts in the little tiny flakes, which I will show off for you, but you can probably already get a taste of how pretty they are. I will recommend 3 coats with this one just to build it up and cover as much of your nail line or free edge as you want, but of course you could also just layer it over a similarly colored yellow base if you didn't want to use up so much polish. And I love the amount of flakes you get after 3 coats of polish. It does dry down a bit dull, so use a good glossy top coat, which really will bring out this beautiful iridescence and opalescence to the polish. Here, hopefully you can see those shifts. You definitely are getting some green, some red. It's just a really pretty and unique polish. I love yellow nail polish, and this one is very, very bright, very beautiful, very happy and cheerful. And yeah, what's more to say? Next up is Lucy, and this one is another stunning polish. I mean, that's the theme of this video, really. This one is an orange pastel neon base with blue to pink aurora shimmer. And this goes on like a dream. It is such a good formula. It's also very, very bright. This one I would recommend anywhere from 2 to 3 coats. Most people are going to want 3. Every time you apply a coat, it definitely increases the opacity and intensifies the shimmer and the base color. This one will blow your mind when I show it off on my full hand. I don't know if I said this was one of my favorites in my outro of this video, which I filmed before my voiceover, but it definitely is. I love the finish of the shimmer on this. It's finely milled, but not to the point that it looks pearly. It is just beautifully done. Honestly, I would love a whole bunch of neons in this sort of formula and finish. I love it so much. So here it is in 3 coats plus top coat, and this one is super bright. It looks pink in some lighting and then more coral in others, and in other times it looks almost completely orange. It is a fascinating and beautiful polish. I don't know who Lucy is, but she must be beautiful because this polish is beautiful. Next up we have Eric, and Eric is described as a mustard yellow with blue to purple to red aurora shimmer. And I did post this on my Instagram and I was like, who's Eric? And everybody just thought that this polish suited Eric so well. So this one is so unique and beautiful and grungy and interesting. I absolutely love it. It applies beautifully. It has a similar formula to what we just saw, very sheer, but builds up. I mean, you probably won't get absolute opacity like you would with a cream in 3 coats, but these kind of polishes are meant to be a little bit on the sheer side because it allows the shimmer to show through, and the shimmer is beautifully displayed in this base color, which is so cool. Honestly, I love this kind of base color. It's actually surprisingly flattering and neutral on my skin tone, and I'm 100% here for it. So this is quite shiny, honestly, after 3 coats on its own, but I'll still recommend top coat. Again, it's similar to Lucy where it's not quite like a pearly finish after with the shimmer pigment, but it is beautifully like finely milled and opalescent and just gorgeous. And you can see the red and the purple at more extreme angles. You definitely see the blue. This is one of the most unique and gorgeous polishes I own. I love it. Just absolutely love it. And definitely recommend picking it up if you're looking for a unique and interesting but beautiful polish. And next up we have Stefan, and this just immediately makes me think of Stefan from Saturday Night Live. And this one is a taupe base with green to purple aurora shimmer. And this is a fascinating and beautiful polish again. So the base on this one really works with my skin tone, and I absolutely love the shimmer in it. And I don't know if it's intentional, but there's almost what looks like little freckles in the polish. Like I don't know if you can see that there's these tiny little specks, and it gives this really cool effect like freckles on your nail. So I really like that, and I really like the formula on this one. It is definitely sheer but buildable, and maybe because it's so close to my skin tone, it's just looking fantastic and gorgeous. This one, I liked it in 2 coats, so I left it, but you might need 3, so do what feels right for you. The shimmer in this one is very, very intense, which I always love in a nail polish. And hopefully you can see what I mean about those little, what I'm calling freckles. Here you can see just how beautiful this one, it's like, it's just so interesting. I love that purpley shift at the more extreme angles. I love the taupe base. I love this one in the sun in particular. It is, it's just so beautiful. I'm not able to speak, but I love this polish. Next up is Lestat, and this one is a mossy green jelly base packed with intense blue Aurora shimmer. And this is another polish that's like very grungy, very punk rock, and it has a really good formula, tons of shimmer in it, and the base is just this really interesting shade. It's definitely sheer, but it will build up, and the shimmer is really intense. All of these polishes are just so beautifully executed. Kelly is such a master of making nail polish, and I'm just having a ton of fun showing off these polishes. I love like the passion that clearly went into this collaboration, and yeah, I'm amazed by these polishes. So this one, it could be good in 2 coats depending on your application, but I am showing you 3. This one is pretty much opaque if you build it up in 3. So if you're looking for a more opaque shimmer, this would be one to consider. And it dries down just a little bit dull, so glossy top coat will just bring this to a whole new level of beauty. And this one, again, similar pigment size, and it's just so interesting and grungy. Like when you see my hand at the more extreme angles under the light, you see that greeny, grungy base color, and then the blue shimmer comes through just beautifully. This is a really special and beautiful polish. Once again, I keep saying that, but I genuinely mean it. These are all just so beautiful. Moving along, we have Lewis or Louis, I don't know which one, and this one is also a mossy green jelly base packed with green to blue to purple Aurora shimmer. So this base might be a little sheerer than Lestat that we just saw, and it might be a little lighter in color, or maybe it's just less saturated, or it could just be the light playing tricks on my eyes because the shimmer pigment is different. But this is yet again another absolutely gorgeous polish. I really love that particular kind of green, blue, purple Aurora shimmer, and it's just used beautifully in this polish. This one I would recommend 3 coats if you want more opacity. It does get pretty close in 3 because the shimmer is so intense it's going to distract from your visible nail line. And this one practically glows because of how intense that green shimmer is. It is truly, truly beautiful. And similar to the other ones, it dries down a tiny bit dull, and you just get such a beautiful finish when you apply the glossy top coat. I love how this one looks with the top coat. I mean, I love how all of them look with top coat, obviously, but this one is just so beautiful. I love that shimmer in it. So here it is. You definitely see that blue and purple shift coming through. It just works so well with the base color. This one is like perfect for anyone who loves greens. It really is such an interesting polish with such a wonderful formula. I love how it looks in the sun too. I love it in every lighting. Moving along, we have Elena, or Elena, depending on how it's pronounced. This is a pink jelly base packed with pearlescent pink to peach to golden shifting shimmer. And this is more of that finely milled shimmer pigment. So as the description says, it's pearlescent. It gives you this really fine and integrated look to the polish. The only thing to note is that you will want to apply it in as straight lines as possible because you can get a little bit of brushstroke visibility if you're really reckless, but it does dry down quite nicely with the brush strokes pretty much evening themselves out, even if you apply it not in a straight line. And this one had really, really good coverage in 2 coats. I will recommend top coat, which I think helps to even out any brush strokes, though they pretty much self-leveled on their own. And now you can see this gorgeous, beautiful finish to this polish. I love this one. It has fantastic color shifts. It's just a really pretty polish. I love that sort of golden shimmer you get at that vantage point you just saw. And of course it looks great here, even in the sort of shadowy, cloudy lighting. It's just chef's kiss. Next up we have Damon, and this one I was really excited about in the bottle, and it did not disappoint on the nail. It's a soft icy blue packed with blue Aurora shimmer, and this one is just lovely in that sort of ghostly way. Like, I've seen a few polishes that are somewhat reminiscent of this one lately, but this one is sort of in a league of its own because it is not green tinged, it's entirely blue. I've never seen a baby blue shimmer quite like this one, so color me impressed. And of course the formula is fantastic as well. It does look best when you build it up in 3 coats. This one has that almost pearlescent finish, but not quite. And I love this one. I had to wear it for a bit because it just was so intriguing to me. I've never worn a polish like this. I will recommend top coat, and in a second you will see how this one looks. It's not super shifty, but that blue shimmer is very, very intense. So here it is. The blue shimmer sometimes almost looks purple, but it mostly stays blue. Very icy, very, very pretty, very intense. And it's just a totally unique polish. Like I said, I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this before. Next up we have the Vampire, and this one is really fascinating. I was really excited about this one when I saw it in the bottle, and it is described as a chartreuse base packed with black to red micro flakies. So this one is absolutely fascinating. I love, firstly, the base color. The formula on it is really, really good. It's very jelly, very sheer, which is what you want because you want those flakies to show up, and they're so tiny and shifty and beautiful. This one, I think most people probably should leave it in 2 coats because it is intentionally on the sheer side so you can see the flakes, but the formula is very even. So yeah, I'm just very, very intrigued by this polish, and it does dry down a tiny bit dull. So a good glossy top coat just creates a beautiful finish on this one. And I try to capture the flakes, which are surprisingly shifty, and create this very red-orange shift at extreme angles, which I guess they're like little tiny flakes working together, and they create this really beautiful effect on the nail. And I love this one in the sun. It's just so beautiful and interesting and like oddly neutral. I don't know, I just fell in love with this one. Next up is Carmilla, and this one is a amazing linear hollow with a little extra something something. It has red iridescent sparkles. So this one, there is a note that it'll become a deeper, more dramatic version of itself when you apply top coat. So if you want it to look exactly as you applied it before top coat, don't add top coat, because if you do add top coat, it will deepen it a little bit. But this has an amazing formula. It covers completely in 2 coats. It is extremely rainbowy, and I love the addition of those little red flakes. It just creates a beautiful effect. So you can see it here pre-top coat. I did not top coat it based on the directions, and I absolutely loved it. Next up we have Nosferatu, and this one is another amazing polish. It is a mix of hollow and black micro flakies. So this is probably one you could use as a topper if you wanted. It is quite dense, so you know, if you like a dense topper, this would be great for you, but if not, you can also build it up very easily on its own, and it is absolutely stunning. The hollow in this is just so rainbowy, and I do still like black flakes. I thought I kind of burnt myself out on them last year, or maybe it was 2021, but I haven't seen too many of them used in a while, and so I am happy to see more. This one is textured. I don't think there's glitters, but it's those black flakies that are a little on the thicker side. It won't be difficult to remove, but as I said, it just is a little bit textured. So here it is. You can see how rainbowy the hollow is, which I absolutely love. And the addition of the black flakes is just so fun and interesting. Next up is Rebecca, and Rebecca is a intense violet linear hollow. So this one does also bleed with top coat, so it turns into a more dramatic vampire, as the description states. It also sort of loses its holographic effect when you apply the top coat, so I believe I show it pre and post top coat so you can see what I mean. It does have a fantastic formula. I didn't experience any staining, even though it's so richly pigmented. The linear holographic effect in this one is very intense and very rainbowy. And the formula is just so smooth and beautiful. So here it is when the holo dries down before top coat. And I am applying the top coat so you can see how it's going to look once it dries down with the top coat. And it is still very holographic, so ignore that comment from before, but it's definitely deepened in its intensity and much more rich looking. Now we're moving on to Bill, and Bill, I don't know who Bill is, but this polish is a multi-chrome magnetic with blue Aurora shimmer, and this one is so much fun. So I I apply the magnetic bar after each coat and hold it for 30 to 60 seconds and then move on, do another coat, as you're going to see, and another coat. The longer you can hold the magnet over the polish, the tighter the magnetic line will be. So here you can see by the time I went in with the next layer of polish, the magnetic pigment kind of dispersed. So that's why you want to hold it over the polish for as long as possible, and also hold the magnet over each coat, including top coat. This has a really good formula though. It's very easy to work with, and the color shifts in this one are totally beautiful. I was happy with this in 2 coats of polish, and I'm not showing it because it's probably boring at this point, but I did apply the magnet after I applied the top coat, which will just help to tighten up the magnetic line as much as possible. And I am using a neodymium bar magnet. So this one is so beautiful. I love that limey green shift you get at really extreme angles. This one is very shifty, really beautiful, especially here in the sun. And yeah, if you like magnetic polishes, this is like a more unique one, and I just really enjoyed showing this one off. Here we have Klaus, and this one is like a really interesting finish in the collection. It's a blue base with red to green micro flakies and blue galaxy glitter. This one has a very sheer base, and it allows you to see the little glitters and flakes very easily. I really like the way that those elements stand out in the base, and it goes on very evenly with really nice coverage. I do think this one is sort of meant to be on that sheer side, so I left it in 2. Of course, you could build it up in more if you want, but it does cover quite well in 2 coats. And there are glitters in this one, so it does dry down with some texture. It's not, terrible, but it will require glossy top coat to smooth out and just a tiny bit of scrubbing to remove. But again, not super difficult because it is relatively sparse. You can see that those little microflakes add this pretty iridescence to the polish overall. And they have a really pretty green shift at extreme angles. They look very red, primarily in direct lighting, and it also looks very cool out of direct lighting. That's where you can really see all the little elements, and in the sun here it's really pretty and I don't know, like jewel-like, or opalescent maybe is a better word. Yeah, it's just a really interesting polish, and I really like the different elements in this one. Moving along, we have Elijah. Elijah is a deep blurple jelly with red to green Aurora shimmer. And this one is very intense and shifty, yet still is very dark. So it's really well formulated. The polish goes on very evenly. Even on that first coat, you can see it has a really nice formula. It dries down quickly, and it's going to build up very easily. This will be, a preference thing. You can leave it in 2, but if you do 3, it'll just give it almost an entirely opaque look. I did decide to go with 3 coats for this one. I like how fluid the formula is on this one. In the other polishes I've tried, sometimes when they're these sort of deep shimmer polishes, they can be, I always consider it to be like a sticky formula, but this isn't sticky. It's very fluid. It goes on really easily, builds up really nicely, and top coat just brings out the beautiful depth of this polish. It is truly, truly gorgeous. And here you can see it with the top coat. And this one it's absolutely stunning. If you like blurples or blues, this one is just a sight to behold. Honestly, just looking at it again, I'm falling in love with this polish once again. It's so beautiful in the sunlight, which thankfully I had lots of when I was swatching. I really want to get this on my nails again soon. It's really pretty. I don't know if I said it was one of my favorites, but it should be. Like, the whole collection is a favorite. Here we have Selene or Celine, and this one is a deep oxblood jelly base with intense blue shimmer. And this one is very, very pretty. It is it's called oxblood, but it comes off more purple overall. I guess that's the way the pigment interacts with the base color. So it just looks like this really rich, deep eggplanty plum shade with a really intense blue shimmer, which also sort of looks purple when it gets integrated with the polish. This one went on pretty evenly, but I do think it looks best when you apply 3 coats. When you apply that 3rd coat, it does just intensify everything and smooths everything out entirely. And just like the previous polish, it has a really easy to work with formula. It's very easy to build it up in 3 coats. And this one is just so intense and deep. It also dries down a tiny bit dull, so use top coat. I didn't experience any staining or signs of staining with this one, but I always recommend a base coat when you're wearing polish for any period of time. And here you can see the intensity of the blue shimmer. You can just see how pretty that base looks when it's all built up. This is a very deep and rich purple. It's very dark compared to some of those purple with blue shimmers we've seen recently. And I love how vampy it is. Next up we have Blade, and Blade is a burning red to orange magnetic micro flake polish in a deep oxblood jelly base. So this one's really interesting, and you could definitely not magnetize it if you didn't care for the magnetic effect. It would still look really cool, but the fact that those flakes are magnetic just adds like an extra element of interest. I really love the fieriness of this polish. So the little flakes are what are magnetic, not the base, which is probably why I'm not getting like a super intense magnetic effect. I really like the effect on this one. It just looks like flames on your nails. So I'm applying a coat of polish, I magnetized it, applying a second coat, and then magnetizing that. You can see the magnetic effect is more obvious after I did that second coat because of course there are more flakes for the magnet to grab. And yeah, this is just such a fiery polish. I don't know who Blade is, but he must be very evil. And this one I thought looked best in 3. It just, because the base is jelly, it built up better in 3 coats, and I magnetized all 3 coats, at least on my index finger. Maybe I was happy in 2 on my middle. I must have. I always go thinner on my index finger, so sometimes I need 3 on it to match the middle finger. This one definitely benefits from a glossy top coat. You can just see how like stunning and fiery this looks with the top coat, and I did use the magnet in between top coating. This one is just so interesting. I don't have any polishes like this, and yeah, really fiery, really beautiful, very autumnal, and it's just such an interesting polish with a beautiful finish. Really good formula, no signs of staining on this one, and it's easy to remove because those are all little flakes, not glitters. And I'm really glad the sun was out to just show how pretty this one is. We are getting close to the end. We have Count Dracula here, and Count Dracula is like the OG. It would have been really cool to have like a Count Chocula polish in this collection. That would have actually been like so sick. But Count Dracula is a flaky bomb in red, gold, green with an oxblood jelly base. And I really like this polish, but it might have been my least favorite formula wise just because there were a lot of bigger flakes which kind of like bunched up on my nails, and I had to sort of move them around. Again, totally workable and manageable, but the other ones were like effortless to apply. And then when I had to just put in the tiniest amount of effort with this one, I was like, what? It's not applying like butter like the other ones. So again, it's still a totally workable polish, but you're just seeing me there move some of the flakes around to cover spots that I missed. And you definitely will want 3 coats to get the most even buildup of the jelly base, and of course the flakes as well. There are a ton of flakes in here, and they're very shifty, as you're going to see. So I did like that. There were some small ones and then a whole bunch of like really big ones, which I think I caught on my other fingers so you can see them a little better. This one will not cause any staining. It won't be difficult to remove, but it does dry down textured because of the flakes, obviously. So use a good glossy top coat to smooth everything out. And you do get a really interesting, vampy, abstract nail polish finish with this one. So you can see on my ring finger, I got like a huge flake at the tip of my nail, got a pretty big chunk or quite a few big chunks on my middle finger. And if you're a fan of these flakes, then this one is definitely a must-have. It is so beautiful, and I really like how shifty the flakes are. It looks particularly juicy and yummy in the sun. And that flake, honestly, is so big. Just look at that. It's huge. And last but not least, we have Dracula from Transylvania. And maybe Dracula is like the OG vampire. I don't know. Maybe more than Count Dracula. I don't know. Maybe they're the same person. Probably not. I'm sure someone in the comments knows a lot more about vampires than I do, and you can educate everybody. So this one is a flaky bomb in red to gold to green with a purple jelly base. So similar to the last one, but I much preferred this one. I loved the base color. It was more purple and definitely sheerer. So it almost was like giving the sheer wash of color to my nail that made it look like it had just this really sheer wash of color, and then the flakes stand out. I loved this one. This is definitely my favorite of the last two. And I left it in 2 coats because I just thought it looked so cool as is. Of course, build it up if you want, but I'm going to argue for leaving it this way because I just thought it looked super freaking cool. And again, it does have texture, so I used a glossy top coat to smooth it out. It won't be difficult to remove. But the flakes in this one are a little smaller than the last polish and look like fallen leaves. I love that sheer wash of purple. I would probably love to have a polish that was just that base. I just thought it was super cool and interesting. And this is a polish also that I absolutely love looking at in the bottle. I'm a bit of a weirdo. I don't get to wear my nail polish a lot because I'm always swatching, but I just love looking at them in the bottle. So this one is definitely beautiful in the bottle and on the nails. Super unique and very abstract and artistic, just like the last one. Obviously, I think that Phoenix and Ab did an incredible job with their collection. It's just magical. Like every single polish is incredible. There's so many different finishes, so many colors, just super fun. It's really going to be hard for me to pick my favorites, but I've got a lot that I think are standouts, and let's talk about those. So Eric is just totally unique to me. I don't really have anything that's kind of mustardy in the way that this one is with that pink shimmer. It's almost like a purple shimmer. I've got it here in my hands right now. So I just love everything about that. I also love Z Vampire. I don't know what language that is, but I love the green base and I love the flakes in there. I love polishes like this with like a sheer jelly base where you can see the elements suspended very clearly. So on that note, I also really liked Dracula from Transylvania because it had that same kind of very sheer base, but you could build it up. But if you leave it on the sheer side, you really clearly see the flakes suspended in the polish, and I love the base color. I already posted Caroline on my Instagram, and I just got like a notification on Instagram that it was one of my most popular posts in the last 30 days. So that might tell you how beautiful this polish is and how much other people like it, but I also really like it because duh, it's a pink linear hollow. I'm almost done, but I loved Edward. I know Twilight. So I love this hollow. I love the flakes in there. I love the shimmer. It is super rainbowy and it sparkles. So I think Edward would approve of this polish. So if you're still watching, let me know in the comments if you are as excited about these polishes as I am. Let me know if you're planning on picking any of them up. And yeah, have a great day wherever you are. Bye.